So I'm rocking the shades, and my face is partially paralyzed still because I just had fillings done this morning at the dentist. So it seems like a great time to make a video. Oversensitive, overstimulated, and just musing. This is, I was just thinking about noise gates and how there's all this discussion of what is neurodivergency and individuals who are oversensitive or highly sensitive or whatever, just more sensitive than apparently other people, and seeing it in my mind like a noise gate, which is an audio thing that's intended to sort of scrub out or block out things up to a certain frequency or whatever. I don't know the details, but it's that kind of thing, right? It's like, you have some sort of automated, supposedly internal system that just cuts a lot of that stuff out. It just blocks a lot of it out. And the idea being that, okay, individuals who are highly sensitive in whatever form we want to call that, their noise gate functions differently. It either doesn't function at all, or it lets a lot more through, so there's just a lot more stimulus. There's a broader range of stimulus. There's more of it happening and being received and experienced at all points of time. And then it was sort of occurring to me that, like, this seems normal, and I really feel like the whole noise gate thing in the first place, it's not something that's easy. It's not something that's totally natural. I do understand how it would be required for us to experience a world of this density, this intensity, to start out with some blocks, or to come in and go, wow, this is way too much, and to create blocks. But those blocks had to be created, right? And then they take energy to maintain. And what I'm feeling is it takes collective energy to maintain that, as well as the energy of an individuated, stream. And I think it's running out. I think it's just running out. Everything lines up, it's all, everything that's happening right now, the collective awakening, people awakening to sensation, awakening to emotion, awakening to pain, so sensation of all types, right? So emotional, physical, energetic, becoming more sensitive to stimuli, so being able to sense subtler things, because in order to sense the subtle, your noise gate has to be gone, right? You have to allow in the full range of stimulus in order to be able to get to the really subtle sensations. That what the noise gate was doing is blocking out all of this stuff up to, quite an intense degree. So only the really big, really loud things are the things that you feel, that you become aware of. So of course then we live in this incredibly intense world, and we're kind of able to stand it, but we also feel disconnected from 99% of experience, because it's like visible light. We've gated ourselves into this teeny tiny frequency where we're getting 1% of what is available to actually experience. But because of the filtering, we're only experiencing this 1%. And it's an intense 1%. But we still feel lonely and separate and isolated and disconnected, because 99% of life is on the other side of this gate that we've created. And again, it makes sense that we created it. This shit is fucking intense, but it takes energy to keep up the wall. It takes energy to maintain that block, that filter, and we're running out individually and collectively of that energy. We don't want to do that anymore. The desire for it is waning, which was never really a desire. desire. It was always something born out of fear, born out of a fear-based sort of necessity survival mechanism, you know, like, well, we really can't stand this unless we put some significant parameters on this experience. It's too much. It's too intense. We weren't ready for it, but we've acclimated significantly. And we've exhausted significantly. we just we don't have the energy to keep running the filters anymore. And that's why I think more and more people are either waking up or they're coming in already, you know, with the noise gate removed. And this has always been the case. There have always been people who came in without that filter, and that was their choice. They said, I want the full unfiltered experience as much as possible. And that wasn't as big of a challenge in the industrial age. Even up to the agricultural revolution, like, things started to really shift there, but there was still a chance. We were still predominantly outside, interacting with the rest of the natural world. It wasn't the same kind of overstimulating as it is now. And from that point on, we've struggled more and more to exist in this world of heightening intensity. But the exhaustion of keeping up the filters, I'm looking for the words on how to say this. For everyone who knows what I'm talking about, and I think that's everyone who would ever see this video, it's exhausting to be in the world without the blocks. It's exhausting to be in the world with the blocks. And there is a degree of frustration and nihilism in that, but we come to the place where we have to make a choice and recognize which one of these is the one that I really can't maintain. And it turns out it's keeping up the blocks. I can't keep up that energy. That's a lie. You know, there's a lying happening. There's effort. There's all of this effort being put into keeping things out. And that's what I can't maintain. And as overwhelming as it feels to let everything in, I don't have another choice. So now the practice is learning how to let everything in and not explode, you know, not just go insane. Learning how to be an eternal, infinite, always conscious being. Eternal being and eternal feeling, the reality of ourselves, is liberating. But it's also terrifying in its own right. And I think more of the people who are likely to watch this video are experiencing that sort of special kind of struggle, or maybe it's the next phase of the struggle of integration, where, you know, we start out separate and afraid and alone and believing in death as a destruction, you know, and all of that. And so then there's this, the first struggle is like coming to the realization of the reality of self and discovering that the self is infinite, that it is endless, that it is alive, and that living is not a thing that ends. Living is. Life is. There isn't anything underneath it. There is no, you know, groundwork beneath life that could fall out and then life could just stop functioning. That doesn't happen. Life is the ground. Life is the source. And we are that. We are the source. Everything flows from this. So there's nothing missing. There's no like pit to fall into, even though there's nothing beneath our feet, which to the mind and at first glance feels really scary, like, oh, I'm going to descend, I'm going to fall, I'm going to slip. There's nothing down there. There's nowhere to go down there. It's just that life itself is the ground. You are the ground. You can't feel the ground underneath you if you are it, but you begin to learn to ground in yourself. Like, yes, I am the surface, I am the foundation upon which all else is built and grows and emerges. And there is an incredible, incomparable security and well-being and value and satisfaction in that awareness. And that is a place to rest. And it continues to be a place to rest as we move into the next phase, which is the full integration of all experiencing. Realizing now, okay, the thing I was like afraid of, maybe the death experience, the destruction, the annihilation, that's not going to happen. So now there's relaxing, but also what this means is the depression and the pain and the rage and the hopelessness and all of these other things, there's no getting away from that. Where death was scary, on one hand, it was also really enticing on the other hand, because it seemed like a promise of escape. So, if you're really in the easy, pleasing kinds of experiences that are available here, then death feels really scary. But if you're in the really challenging experiences, death feels like a friend. Death feels like, well, at least I have one way out. At least there's a guarantee that all of this pain is going to stop at some point. And so realizing the eternal being, realizing the nature of yourself as eternal being, means both, okay, there's not an end, there's not a separation from the things that I like. There's also not a separation from the things that I don't like. That's the real integration. That's where the real integration starts. Recognizing that I'm not able to get away from these experiences. So again, what choice do I have but to relax in them, to open to them, to learn how to relax in everything that I was so tensed up against. And it's not easy. But, we only have forever to practice. It's okay. But I feel like everyone is opening up to this. Like, just the valves are opening. People who used to be able to stand the overstimulation, who had functioning noise gates to whatever degree, those gates are failing. The energy is not there for it. The energy that was available to lie with, this like pool of energy individually and collectively that we have been using, we have been drawing on to use to lie, to maintain illusions inside and out, that resource is dwindling. Because it can't be replenished. That's not, lying is not a life nurturing practice. It's not evil. It's just, it's not real. It's not real. It's a lie. It's made up. So the act of creating illusion is not the same as the act of creating. And the act of creating is self-sustaining. It nourishes itself. It's satisfying in itself. And so it's this endless font that is ever replenishing. But the act of creating illusion doesn't give anything back. There isn't any satisfaction there. It's not an actual desire. It's born from fear. So there's no self-sustaining quality to it. It is a continuous expenditure that never feeds back in. And we had been using, other energy to feed into this, but it's not there anymore. It's not available. So it's getting harder and harder and harder to lie. And we're realizing all of the ways that we've lied. It's not just, lying to another person. It's lying to yourself. It's lying about what you're feeling in this moment. It's the ability to keep certain sensations out. That's a lie. Pretending that they're not there. Plugging your ears against the banging of this thing on the door. Going, nah, you're not there. I don't hear you. I don't see you. Or even saying, and I've done this a lot, even running to the door, opening the door, but standing in the door, not letting this thing in, going, okay, I hear you, what the fuck do you want? I'm busy. Can we be quick about this? Why are you here again? That's not letting anything in. I've done lots of that. I've spent a long time thinking that I was letting stuff in because I was acknowledging it, but I wasn't really acknowledging it. I was acknowledging that it was there, but I wasn't letting it in. With the acknowledgement of the presence of this sensation was also the denial of it. Was the, yes, this is here, but it really needs to not be. Yes, this is here, but I really need it to just go away quickly. So what can I do to accomplish that? That's not acceptance. That's not acceptance. And I'm not judging that at all. I just went to the dentist and I had to do what I had to do to survive that experience, right? And I did something, I was just talking with my wife about this, that I am now sort of seeing as, it's not dissociation. It's not like I'm not here and this isn't happening, and it's not a denial. But it's like, I call it being with the body rather than being in the body. So there's just this little degree of separation of space. It's not a disconnection. It's not like I'm going to go over here while you deal with this. It's, the only way I can handle this is to be next to you. Is to be with the body and feeling the sensations that the body is feeling, but not taking them on as like a personal thing. Otherwise it feels like an assault. It feels like an attack. And it's going to trigger all of the threat responses, and I'm going to be, shoving people out of the way and running out of this building, and I'm really trying not to do that. So what I'm doing is sitting with the body, acknowledging that it is feeling all of these sensations, and saying, I am here with you. And so it's not exactly me that it's happening to, but I'm also not removed from the experience. I am there. I am present. I'm just not being directly inflicted with all of this sensation. I don't even know if adjacent is the right word, but just I am with the body as the body is experiencing this. And I am like tending to the body and saying, it's okay, this is what you're feeling. And just kind of calming this animal that I'm present with as much as possible. But I can't be directly receiving this stream of sensation in such a localized way. Like, I need this degree of expansion. It feels like there's just the space of a breath here, and it's an expanded awareness that includes the body and myself, and that's what enables me to embrace experience and not just flee from it, because otherwise it would be too much. But I've found that very helpful. It's helpful for emotional pain as well as physical, and just intensity, because a lot of the dentistry experience is just, it's just intense. It's just, there's so many sensations. There's water, there's air, you're fucking choking, your mouth is held open, there's, grinding, and it's way too much stimuli at once. and feeling like I need to crawl out of my skin. So what I can do is be present with the body in that experience and just give it attention in that way, to just say, I see you, I hear you, I feel you, I'm with you. And so you can do that with emotions as well. And to let them come in to the room, let them fully in the door, not just standing at the door saying, what do you want? No soliciting, but inviting them in and being with them. So they come into the body, but you're with the body and you're with the emotion rather than being like inside of it. That's when it feels, what I'm noticing, that's when it feels like a prison, right? That's when it feels like a trap. If I feel like I'm inside this emotion that is inside my body, and I'm in all of these things, I feel like I'm in this glass marble, and I'm in a glass case of emotion, and it just feels like I have to break out of it. But if I just step to the side, just one step to the side, and say, come on in to the room, to the house where I am, and it's neither a claiming ownership of nor a dispossession of, right? It's just this other kind of allowance that's difficult to describe. So I step out of the doorway and I let this in, and I invite it in with all the other party guests, everything else that's here, and I just let it be a part of the party. Then what I'm noticing is my attention isn't split, and it's not being used up trying to keep this thing out. There's less and less energy for that. It becomes more exhausting, more taxing, more impossible all the time to try to filter out, to gate out certain sensations. The gate is breaking down. Maybe that's something to do with the veil thinning. The veil is falling apart. There's this artificial separation that could never be sustained forever is coming apart. It takes too much energy to maintain. We don't want it anymore. It's falling apart at the seams. So we're learning to just let things in, but be with them, to be next to them, beside them, witnessing them. So there's still like, myself is here, my being is here, and the emotion is what I'm looking at. And I'm not doing so in a way that is attempting to disown it again, but it is the recognition that my being is its own distinct experience. And that distinct experience is not afflicted with, or I don't know how to put it. This space remains open. Nothing actually comes into this space. It's hard to... I'm really searching for how to describe this, because again, it's not like I'm putting up a wall to keep things out of this space. It's just an awareness when I'm feeling myself, my beingness, that is just its own thing. It is its own pure thing. Nothing really touches that. But my awareness of pure beingness enables me to sit beside everything else and have an awareness of the beingness of that as well. But I don't know, it's so curious. Just like for sadness to be, a thing that I'm experiencing, a thing that exists on its own, it has its own beingness. The beingness of sadness, while like my beingness, it is essentially the same, but it's not the same. It isn't my beingness. I am not sadness. I am not sad. I am, and I experience the being of sadness. And so there's just this, it's like it doesn't mark me. But not because I'm trying to keep it away. When I let everything into the party fully, and then I'm with everything that's there, it's like the full view, and I suddenly feel this sense of completion and wholeness, of like my horizon is intact. Now it's no longer split. It was split before, where it was like the party and the things I was trying to keep out of the party, or the party and the things that were distracting me from the party. That I was like, trying to listen with one ear to the guests that I wanted to be talking with, and in the other ear is the, like the banging on the door and the crying and the screaming, and this feeling of like, fuck, I can't focus anywhere because I this is where I want to be, but I'm sorry, this is distracting me. I have to go deal with this and then get this to shut up so that I can focus fully over here. No. The thing that I want to shut up needs to come into the room. It needs to be in the room. And once I bring it into the room and, invite it fully in and go, okay, you're here. Welcome. Here with everyone else, with everything else, it relaxes. Really, all it wants is to be included. All it wants is to be included. It wants to be a part of the party. Everything wants to be a part of the party. And once it's brought in, there's this blending that happens. It sort of it softens. It doesn't disappear. It just softens into this blended texture of everything. And it feels integrated. It feels complete. It feels whole. And now my focus isn't split. It's all here. Everything is here. And I can feel it. Everything is here. Oh, finally, because I brought this in, everything is here. And I don't feel like I'm running around trying to tend to everything. I could just be in this room, and in fact, I'm noticing everything is interacting with each other. There's just this like beautiful chattering happening, and the guests are all talking amongst themselves, and they're happy, and they don't need me. They don't need me to tend to them. And then I become I was going to say a guest myself, but it's something more than that, or other than that. I don't know. There's just a feeling of satisfied relaxation where now I'm not tending. There's nothing I have to do. I can just look around this room that is full of everything and see everything I love is here. Everything I love is here, is present. Everything is present. There's nothing missing. There's just this feeling of rest and completion, but it's still active and alive and moving. It's all right here. The focal point is it's complete. And then I can sort of, just move around this space and be drawn in and out and move whatever directions. I'm not like, if you've ever hosted people for any kind of event, playing the host can be exhausting if you feel like you're trying to tend to everyone. This person over here isn't really talking to anybody and they're kind of awkward, or these people just arrived and so they're not really integrated and blah blah blah, and you're seeing if people need drinks, are they thirsty, are they hungry, let me get you more hors d'oeuvres, whatever. And it's just like, that's exhausting, feeling like you're tending to people. But this is like everyone has come in and they've found a place and they're just vibing, nothing is needed. Everyone's taking care of themselves, kind of like there's enough snacks, there's enough drinks. You're not trying to keep track of anything. There's not some mental checklist that you're running through over and over going, okay, is that done? Do I need to do this? It's like finally just it's done. It's all here. Listen to this joyful chatter. Everyone is engaged with one another. There's nothing for me to do. There's no one for me to tend to. Now I can just enjoy this party. I can enjoy this party also. I gotta go. Thanks for listening to my ramble while my face looks like I'm part dinosaur. I love you. Take it easy.